Hey everyone, this is Lisa Grace welcoming you back to another episode of the Teach Middle East podcast. Today I am on air or in your ear, in your AirPods with Akansha, and she is the founder CEO of yourdailyreset.com. And for a young woman who has all the possibilities in the entire world at her feet, having grown up in Dubai, being educated in Dubai and overseas, she has chosen to solve for teacher well-being. So, and there's a reason for that because she grew up in a household of educators. Her dad, whose name I will not reveal to you unless she wants to, has been one of the more high profile principals in Dubai for several decades. And so um, I think it's understandable why she would want to solve for teacher well-being. And I think, it's actually commendable. And that's why I wanted to have her on the pod. So welcome to the podcast, Akansha.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. And I think you're absolutely right. Out of all the things I could do, I chose to do teacher well-being because it's something I'm really passionate about, having seen it firsthand growing up in a home, with educators. Both my parents are educators, and I always like to joke. I used to be a journalist before I became an entrepreneur. So I just love to say that I'm a sucker for punishment, going from political journalism to starting something of my own and going through the highs and lows of that.
What was it like growing up with parents who were educators? How did that feel?
I think there was a lot of emphasis on education for us, but it also helped that both my parents were in the industry on the administrative side. So they knew how to raise us in a home where we were given space to explore what we wanted to in our careers. And it wasn't the typical, pick engineering, law, medicine, whatever it is. You can choose and pursue your passion. So since I was in grade one, I knew I wanted to be a journalist. And in grade one, I in fact convinced my dad to call up someone at the College Times and just, speak to them and be like, okay, my daughter wants to shadow you and learn everything. So, and she's only in grade one, but she's so persistent. And is this something you can do? And to their credit, they did. I spent, I think, 2 or 3 weeks just embedded in their newsroom to learn what it was like, go to the printing press and all that. So it really helped in, allowing me to become my own person and sort of have the space to make mistakes. They knew how to handle that. But also we were, taught to, like, if it was like journalism, okay, great, then you have to show us that this is something you actually want to do. So it was an initiative I took on my own, then, that every summer I interned at a news publication or a magazine, Time Magazine, CNN, whatever it was, to build my own career. So I'm really grateful for that.
That's interesting because you knew what you wanted to do from grade one, which is very unusual. I mean, listen, when I was in grade one, I probably wanted to be a news reporter, or a lawyer. I had so many possibilities, or an engineer, or a doctor. Like every time I would watch something, I would decide that's what I want to be, and that would change. So it's fascinating to know that you've stuck with it. Talk to me a little bit about your career in journalism. Where did it take you? How did that work?
So in fact, I grew up in one upside of having parents who are educators is that at the dining table, they would always discuss the world news and encourage us to have opinions because they were so informed about what was going on. And I think, like, one of my fondest memories growing up is watching BBC with my dad and, him asking my opinion. Like, what do you think about what's happening here? And then I would write my own news scripts and, present it to my parents and be like, look, based on what's happening in the world, I wrote something of my own. I moved to Canada when I was in grade six. So grade six to grade to undergrad, I was in Toronto, and then I did my bachelor's in journalism from the University of Toronto, and then moved to New York for my master's in international affairs and South Asian studies at Columbia. And when I was graduating, I joined CNN. So part of Fareed Zakaria's team at CNN, which was a dream come true because it's something I really wanted to do. And then from there, there was a um, company, a new age media company, Vice, that was launching a news division. So I was part of the launch team for Vice News, which was an incredible experience because I got to work across multimedia, whether it was on documentaries, in front of the camera, writing political stories. We had full journalistic freedom and editorial freedom to actually go out and report. Um, and then from there, I moved on to Vice's Daily Show, which I worked on, where we were producing 3 to 4 stories. So I worked over 100 documentaries during my 3 to 4 years at Vice, and I ended up reaching burnout very quickly because if you're a journalist, we were constantly, especially I think in 2014, 2016, it was the peak of elections. Canada was having a momentous election. India, the United States with President Trump. So we were constantly on the road. We were working around the clock. I had no time to actually look after myself. I was eating whatever I could find without even thinking about, like my diet. I was eating at odd hours, and that took a toll on my body. And I reached burnout. I got sick. It had physical manifestations, and that's when I moved back to Dubai. I quit Vice. I moved back to Dubai, and I thought I'm just going to take this time to just focus on my well-being, bring myself back to who I am, and then decide what I want to do. So when I moved back, in fact, it was my dad who recognized I needed to go to therapy because I was so burnt out and I was not doing well. And when I went to therapy here is when I realized how expensive it is. Even though my parents were like, we'll pay for it, don't worry, just go get the help you need. But then I started thinking like the average cost of therapy as of recently in the UAE, it's around 1,200 dirhams, which is very expensive. You are, a culturally sensitive therapy is limited when you're looking at the cultural context as well. And therapy is often a last resort. So it's a reactive approach to well-being. And that's how the idea of reset came to be. So that's how my journalism career brought me to where I am today.
Yeah. And why did you choose education and teachers in particular?
I think we were looking at industries where there's a lack of well-being support, or at least there is a gap in people accessing proactive and affordable well-being support. And teachers is one key area, especially considering how high the burnout rates are. Teacher attrition is a critical concern in the industry. And there's a lot of pressure that teachers are under, a lot of stakeholder expectations and pressure. And for us at Reset, we're on a mission to help make the UAE the number 1 country in the world when it comes to citizen well-being. And with that mandate for us, addressing teacher well-being is an important part of it because if teachers don't have the well-being support, you're going to see the trickle down effect across the school, across the students, and in society.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, but I wonder how such a big, audacious issue can be tackled by maybe a private entity. How do you hope to do that? What are you doing?
I think for us, if one thing that being a journalist has taught me is persistence and never giving up. So for us, in the time that we've been working on teacher well-being at Reset, we've developed incredible partnerships with educational institutions to focus on teacher well-being. In fact, Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up, and we've partnered with, just as of yesterday, we've partnered with one school in Dubai. I cannot name the school yet because it's a surprise for the teachers. So I don't want to reveal it yet. But we've partnered for Teacher Appreciation Week to be able to have wellness, days for teachers, to take time out, to focus on their well-being, to de-stress, to work through any pent-up emotions. But for us, you know, it's even if we start small and make an impact in one school, I think that's a success for us because that then has an effect across different stakeholders in society. We recently, I think 3 weeks ago, completed 2 wonderful days at GEMS Modern Academy, where we led, teacher well-being mornings for their entire staff to allow, and it was science-packed workshops and well-being experiences to allow them to uh, equip themselves with the practical tools and micro habits to look after their well-being. And the other thing that we've noticed when we work with schools is a lot of times well-being falls under the purview of pastoral care, or it falls under the purview of the school counselor. Um, and when we talk to those people, they tell us that we don't have the bandwidth, we don't have the capacity. And that is where we step in at Reset to be able to support them in their mandate and to be able to provide teachers with well-being support across, um, you know, uh, the school.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. So, a lot of school leaders listen to the Teach Middle East podcast and they might be thinking, how do I recognize that my staff might need a reset or might need reset? Playing on that word a little bit. What are they looking for? What are the signs?
Burnout.
What do we mean by burnout?
Yeah. So with that, keep an eye out for how your staff is showing up in staff meetings. Do you see that they're not as engaged? Is their morale dipping? Are they sending emails after work hours? Have you seen an increase in sick days, in teacher absenteeism? Have you seen a drop in academic outcomes as well? Talk to your students. One of the things that we've done at Reset is actually speak to students, and understand whether it's something that they notice if their teachers are not doing okay. And every single student from grade 1 onwards till grade 12 has told us, I know when my teacher is having a bad day. I know when my teacher is not doing okay. And we've also had, kids say, it makes me sad, it makes me anxious, it makes me stressed out. I walk on eggshells around my teacher. And I think the easiest way that you can do this, and because we're so passionate about teacher well-being at Reset, we've created a free teacher well-being assessment for schools. So it costs you nothing. It's anonymous. All you have to do is just send it out to your staff, and you're going to get the data that'll allow you, real-time data that'll allow you to gauge what the well-being assessment is in your school, what the areas of concern are, where actually they need support, like specific areas where they need support. So you don't have to do the guesswork. You can just focus on actually bridging that gap and providing solutions.
Hmm. So, how much of it is the responsibility? Because there's such a balance. And I'm putting my former school leader hat on and I'm going, how much of the teacher's well-being is my responsibility and how much of it is theirs? Because I can't, as a school leader, really within reason, be completely responsible for everyone's well-being all the time. So where's the balance?
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. But a school leader has to recognize that if they, because as a leader, you have to take the initiative and step forward. So if your teacher's well-being levels are dipping, it's going to have a direct impact on your school reputation, parent feedback, your even inspection ratings at some point. It it's going to other teachers in the teacher community are going to talk. It's going to have, whether you like it or not, whether you do something about it or not, it's going to have an impact on your school and your legacy as a leader. So I would recommend that, at some point leaders just take the initiative and step up. But the other thing, what we also recognize is that teachers or anybody needs to be an active stakeholder in their own well-being, which is why our programs are focused on being more proactive. So that before a challenge snowballs into a crisis, teachers have the tools and the micro habits they need to focus on their well-being. And we're not coming into a school and saying we're taking away all stress. That's not possible. And that's not realistic. What we're coming in and saying are that we are able to equip your teachers with psychological tools, with we're able to set the foundations of psychological safety in your school. We're able to provide your teachers with science-backed tools to look after their own well-being in moments of crisis, to embed it into the daily, into their daily lives, and for you to be able to embed well-being into the fabric of your school culture, whether the teacher has been there for 30 years or whether you're onboarding new teachers.
I get it. And I know it's a big responsibility to carry for school leaders. So I want to go down a little bit more practical route. What are some of the things that you recommend that teachers do in order to ensure their well-being isn't compromised, that they don't head directly to burnout? What can they do? So pretend you're advising me and I'm on the brink of burnout. And potentially I am, like I do a lot. So what would you tell me to help me stay on top of my well-being?
I would first of all commend you as a teacher for recognizing that you need additional support, because it's not easy to speak up and say that, hey, I'm not doing okay. And this is something I know firsthand. I waited until things went really wrong to be able to get support. And I don't want anyone to be in that position. So I think the first thing is recognizing and also accepting that change is that it's going to be a bit of a longer journey for you to reset and feel okay, but that it is possible. And you can start small. I think one thing that people, get about well-being wrong is that it's overwhelming. But even small steps can make a difference and have a domino effect on your well-being. Have a chat with your either school principal or your supervisor, head of department, whoever that you have that relationship with, and let them know that you're feeling that way. I think it's important to be able to communicate to someone that you report to so that even they can come up with a plan on maybe how to manage your workload, or to, if you're in charge of extracurricular activities, that you can get additional support there, or that can be taken off your plate. Anything to be able to manage your workload, that is, I think, a key step to begin with. The other thing is to be kind to yourself. Maybe there will be some days you won't be able to meet all deadlines or get everything off your plate, and that's okay. One of my favorite sayings is that if you have 40% to give today and you've given 40%, you've given 100%. And I think that's something that teachers need to recognize, is that not all days you will be able to show up fully, and that's okay. That's okay. You're doing a lot. The other aspect I would say is look for resources, free resources, or if your school has any resources, feel free to reach out to us. We have a lot of free resources as well that you can access to look after your well-being, whether it is learning box breathing to work through those anxious moments, or any other tools, or any somatic movement experiences to release pent up emotion and stress, anything small that can help you just reset in the moment, I think, and that you can even do while driving to school, or, between lunch break, or even before a class, get box breathing. anything else that will just take 5 minutes out of your day to get you through. I think the focus has to be on small incremental steps. And I think outside of work, try to go work out. I know that it's been, said time and again, but try and just find at least a half hour. Maybe summer's coming up, go walk in the mall, go to a yoga class, anything where you feel that you're reconnecting with yourself, even if it's just grabbing a cup of coffee by yourself. Any time you can take out for yourself will also help you reset and recalibrate. And I think finally is to seek well-being support and, actually get targeted intervention and help for burnout.
Hmm. And so to bring the podcast to kind of wrap it all up, what are your hopes? Like, where do you see Daily Reset going? And what are your hopes for teacher well-being nationwide? And how do you even see that happening?
I think for us at Reset, we're almost 5 months into the year, and we've already had a very exciting year with partnerships. We're working with institutions such as Canadian University Dubai, NYU Abu Dhabi is a long-standing partnership of ours. And we're seeing a lot of momentum in the education space when it comes to teacher well-being, when it comes to staff well-being. And we're really excited with what the year is going to bring, particularly because of the conversations we're having with school principals who are recognizing the need for teacher well-being support and programs, you know? And I think for us at Reset, it's something that we're so passionate about. And it's something that, it's not going to be easy, but we're doubling down on it because it's something we really believe in. It's a mission and passion that we really believe in, and we know that change is possible and change can be made. And for us, our aim is to be able to contribute to the vision of the leadership of the country, and well-being is a key pillar of that. The National Well-being Strategy 2031, that's a key pillar. And teacher well-being is a metric that will contribute to that as well. So we really hope that schools in the UAE emerge as a lighthouse in the country to take the lead on well-being and to, build it into the fabric, into the culture of their school.
That's a really lofty but worthwhile goal. Thank you so much, Akansha, for being on the podcast with me today.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me.